Good morning! It is cooking day. So we decided to mix up your timing a bit, and we're going to do a little bit in the morning, a little bit after lunch, and be ready long before dinner, right?
That way we can just throw it in the oven.
Okay, what are you going to do first?
So our first thing we're going to do is that we're going to cut, peel, and de-seed the squash.
So there was tips on the recipe.
So it says here, microwave optional, heating squash softens its skin, making it easier to cut. Should I do that?
Well, why don't you try cutting one and see if it's too hard for you or...
Okay, so it says slice ends, so that would be like this.
No.
No?
We're going to cut closer to the end.
Oh, okay.
Over here, and closer to the end over here.
Okay.
So that we have the middle, which is the food part. You should probably turn it around so that your hand can hold the big part, and then you can do the cutting.
So right here, good? Or a bit closer?
That's good.
That was easier than I thought it would be.
Okay, now you need to do the other end. Always better to have your hand on something big and solid when you're cutting. What is the next step?
Cut in half. From top to bottom, so lengthwise.
Yep, stand it up on end.
Okay.
And then you're going to put the knife right across here.
Okay.
And cut down.
And cut down. Less seeds than I thought there was going to be.
So we can take our knife out of the way.
Okay, should I put it in the sink?
Well, you're still going to need it, but put it aside because you're going to be doing some scooping, so you don't want to accidentally bump that knife. So can you put your knife maybe at the back of the stove there? So that it's not where you're working and you're not going to accidentally
Chop my arm off?
Okay.
No, more like my hand.
Okay.
Okay, so...
Get a big spoon and start scooping.
Okay. Are we going to keep the seeds for next year?
I would like to keep the seeds, so after we have done all of this, we're going to dry them out. So you can just scoop them and put them in a bowl, and we can work on that part later. You don't want to carve too much of this meat because that's the squash. You're just trying to get the seed part.
That look good?
That's good.
Okay.
Let's get them all done. So as all of this has to go into a blender once it's cooked, we are going to bake it like that. So put them all face down in this pan.
So like that?
Yes. And then I would like you to put about 1 inch of water in the pan, so then it kind of steams it a bit. That's probably good. And then we're going to put it into the oven and bake it till it's soft. The oven's not completely preheated, but that's okay because we're just going to cook this until it's soft. Once it gets up to temperature, we'll test it to see how it's coming along. And we want it soft enough that we can poke it with a fork and it's soft.
Okay.
Like a cooked potato. Now you can get onto your meatballs and let the squash do its thing.
Okay.
So then you're one step ahead when you get to your mac and cheese. So you're aiming for mostly to get that dry skin off.
Yeah.
And any parts that don't look good. You're not cutting these onions. What does it say you're doing with them?
Grating.
Sometimes it's easier to put that grater on the cutting board and hold it firm.
Yep.
So we skipped ahead on your recipe and are doing the grating because that's going to take you longer, right?
Eyes are starting to water. Is it the juice that makes your eyes water?
Maybe you should research it. Okay, what's next?
Grating apples. Hopefully this will get rid of the stinging.
Well, if you move your bowl out of the way, then over there, while you do the apple, maybe that'll make it a bit easier on you. What does it say on your recipe?
Grate apple on large holes of the grater. Stop when you reach the core and grate other sides. Add egg to mixture.
So you don't need to cut, you just need to grate around this, like if you were eating it, but you're grating it.
Okay.
Watch until when you get to the core, because otherwise you're going to have those little core bits in there.
We have everything that we need just for the meatballs.
Okay, let's get it done. You're grated your onion and your apple. Now you're ready just to throw everything into that bowl and mix it up. Let's start with step 2. What does it say?
Crack the eggs
Okay.
into the bowl. This one had a super soft shell. Look at that.
So we have 1.5 grated onions, 3 grated apples, 3 eggs. What's next?
Add breadcrumbs. So we're doing half a cup of breadcrumbs, so that'd be a cup and a half of breadcrumbs.
Correct. So that looks like the half a cup.
Yep.
And open the next package for the other. Okay.
Okay, there's that. Okay, and pepper. How much pepper do I need? Half a teaspoon. So half a teaspoon and another half a teaspoon. That's a teaspoon and a half.
Correct.
So there's my teaspoon. And then a little bit more.
That's good.
Okay, half a teaspoon. And then how much salt? 1 teaspoon, so then that'll be 3 teaspoons of salt.
Okay.
That's a lot of salt.
You are doing a lot of meatballs.
That's true.
So by having the ingredients on one side when you start, and then moving them to the other side as you've used them, then you know if you've missed anything.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
It's because that's how we practice a lot, so you're just getting it automatically.
1 bunch of parsley.
So I think we'll put 3 tablespoons because
nothing.
that's dried parsley.
Not the entire container?
No.
2. 3.
Where's that parsley go?
There.
So what do you have left that's going to need to go in there? See how that's helping? Okay. We might want to stir this up
Okay.
before we put the meat in
Okay.
to get it mixed up to start with.
Should I use like tongs or like whisk or?
I would use a fork. And before you get going too much further there, you probably need to check on your squash. So we're going to poke it with a fork, remember?
So do I go from the top or like in?
Just try on the end there. Still pretty firm? Okay, close it up. So by having your squash cooking while you're doing all of this, you're not going to have to wait for that squash later. So when this is roughly mixed, then you can add your meat. So I would mix between every package of meat
Okay.
because that's a lot of meat and it could get overwhelming and harder to mix if you do it all at once. So what did you learn on the prices of the meat? Was there one that was cheaper than the other, or were they the same price?
They were the same price.
Okay.
And was like $8 something for this little package.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, isn't it? Now that everything's mixed up, you're going to wash your hands because then you have to make all your meatballs.
By hand?
So you could do it by hand or you could use a cookie scoop. Which one would you like to do?
I'm kind of curious on what the meat will feel like, so I think I'm going to go with hand, and if I don't like it, then I'll probably go with the cookie scoop.
So you're going to make little balls, a bit smaller than a golf ball.
That size?
Yes. So we want them all to be about the same size because they're going to need to cook at the same rate.
Okay.
Because we decided to change up the way you were doing this, and you're making these before lunch and then you're going to make the pasta after lunch. When these are cooked, we're going to do up the sauce and put them into the crock pot so that they stay warm and they're ready at dinner time.
Isn't there a song about meatballs?
Probably.
Like I think there's one like the meatball rolled off my spaghetti or something. Do you know how that one goes?
What do we have to do with these next?
Cook them.
Okay. So you have to wash your hands before you put anything in the oven. We'll have to check on your squash again.
Think it's done?
Yep, I think it's done just from looking at it. What can you notice before you poke the holes in?
It's shiny.
Okay, but also if you look at the squash part, do you see how it's kind of cracking apart?
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good sign.
There. Oh, stop.
How long do these need to cook for? And what temperature?
These need to cook at 400 again, but they need to cook for 13 to 15 minutes until browned and cooked through. So like roughly the same amount of time as lunch is.
Okay, but should you set a timer?
Probably.
Which time would you set it for? 13 or 15?
13 or 15?
What would you set it for?
15?
Why?
I don't know.
So, if it says 13 to 15, do you think you should check in the smallest amount of time and then see if it needs more? It's kind of hard to back it up. Had your lunch?
Yeah, I had my lunch. It was good.
Okay, next up, we're going to make the sauce. What do you have to do?
So I have to whisk apple juice, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce. Did I say that correctly?
And?
Cornstarch and salt into a skillet until no lumps remain.
Okay, so we're not going to do it in the skillet. We're going to do it in the crock pot. So get all of those things into the crock pot and whisked up nice and smooth.
Okay. I found a 3/4 cup, so I just have to do that one 3 times. A whole lot easier than trying to calculate it. Since the ketchup is a 1/4 cup, I could just use the 3/4 cup that we used for the apple juice and just use that once.
Yes, you're getting the hang of this.
That's a lot of ketchup. Now this is a weird drink if this was ever a drink.
It's going to make your barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce. One half, 1/4. So I just do. I'm gonna need a tablespoon, but since we're tripling it, I'm gonna need 3 tablespoons of this.
Okay, then get it whisked up. Turned on. So why are we using the crock pot?
Because all the meatballs will fit in here.
And because you're having trouble getting everything done at the same time?
Yes.
So this is going to keep it hot and ready to go while you work on the rest. So once that's all whisked up, you can put all your meatballs into there.
Okay.
So we are on to the mac and cheese. What's first?
So I filled this up to like here with water. And now I need to turn it on.
Okay. Too high.
That one there.
Good job.
Say cheese!
So you're grating up the cheese for this?
Mm-hmm.
You need 16 ounces of grated cheese. Hey, your water's boiling.
Okay.
How much pasta are you cooking?
I need 3 pounds.
You need 3 pounds? We're just doubling this one.
Oh, we're just doubling it? Then 2 pounds.
Okay, because this one serves 6 to 8. Use an oven mitt that gets hot.
Okay. Ready? Noodles away!
While that cooks, you can work on the sauce.
Okay. Add milk and roasted squash into blender and blend until smooth and then set aside.
So what are you going to set it aside in? Because chances are it's not all going to fit in that blender.
Maybe a bowl.
Okay. Your noodles boiling over?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. You got to multitask.
It's like one should pause until I get the other thing done, and then it can do its thing that it needs to do.
Well, then it's going to take you even longer.
Well, that would be easier on me.
So on the recipe, it says that we need 1 pound of butternut squash. We are doubling this recipe, but this amount here is actually 4 pounds.
Oh.
And we're going to see if we can use all of the squash in there without disrupting the taste too much, so that we have more
At a healthy dinner.
and we're filling up more with the nutritious, less expensive things. Okay, put the lid on and blend that up into a nice creamy sauce.
Okay. On. Wait. How did I put it in? Now let's try that on. That works. Now 3.
So if we start at the lowest number and then we can work our way up.
Okay.
Put your hand on the lid just to make sure it doesn't come flying out. Is it nice and smooth?
Yeah. Ooh. Looks like it.
Okay, if it's nice and smooth, put it in your other dish and do the next step. Are your noodles cooked?
Let's see. Those ones look good. Yeah, I'd say they're done.
Okay, so then what do you need to do?
Strain them.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you use 2 oven mitts to carry it?
Yeah.
Are you okay straining that big pot?
Am I allowed to lean it against the edge?
Mm-hmm. So what's the next step?
Melt butter in a pot over medium heat.
How much butter do you need?
1/4.
And you're doubling it?
Mm-hmm.
So how much?
Half.
Half of what?
Half a cup.
Okay, let's get some butter going. So this is 2 cups. So if you cut it in half, you have 2 1-cup blocks. And then you would cut another one in half. Just draw a little line where half is.
Okay.
And then cut it in half again. And cut all the way through. So you can put that in your pot, and then you can put your pot back onto the hot element.
Okay.
And then we can turn the temperature back on. So what do you need?
Half a cup of flour.
Okay. And then you need to use the whisk.
Stick into the bottom.
So this has a special name when you do flour and butter like this.
I think it's like rocks or something.
It's called a roux. You probably sounded it out to say rocks, but it's called a roux.
But then shouldn't it just have a U at the end, not an X?
I didn't make this spelling. Okay, and this is what thickens up your sauce.
Okay.
Okay, and once it's all mixed in well, so why did I take it off the heat?
Because it was starting to stick to the bottom.
Okay, so once you get it mixed in, you can put it back onto the heat. Keeping in mind that this element is hot,
Yes, don't put anything on top of it.
like your hand. Second half? Okay, so what are we doing?
So we're stirring until the sauce starts bubbling.
Okay.
And then we're going to take it off the heat, add salt, pepper, and the cheese. We're going to melt it and then put the noodles in.
Okay. Is this going to heat up when this isn't turned on?
There. Which?
So your sauce is hot. We can put little bits of cheese in at a time. And
That's enough?
a bit more than that. A good handful. And stir it till it's all melted and then add some more.
Okay.
Coming to the home run. How's it coming along? Okay,
Yeah.
get all the cheese in there. So what are you to do once the cheese is all melted?
Add the final ingredient.
What's the final ingredient?
Noodles.
Okay. And then you're going to put them into those casserole dishes.
Okay. Smells so good. Can't wait for dinner. Maybe we could have
So
dinner
what do
early.
you think that it's actually taking you a lot longer than it said on the recipe? What do you think if you were to make dinner every single day? You've been cooking
Since
9:30. Took a break for lunch.
Yeah, not even a half-hour break because they kept coming back in to check on the.
And now it's 2 o'clock and you're just finishing up. You're gonna have to get faster over time, aren't you? Or you're never gonna get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
All mixed up? We're going to put it in a casserole and then just heat it up a little bit later. So this should give us enough for dinner and for lunch the next day. 1 crock pot full of meatballs. All that's left is
The veggie tray.
and the dishes. Which one are you doing next?
Probably the dishes.
It's a good idea. So veggie tray time? Oh, this is the easy part because all these veggies are pretty much pre-done.
This is only some of the veggies. So I could grab it at once.
Okay. The veggie tray. Dean's your slave? He's setting the table for you?
Yep.
Guess so. I cooked dinner for everybody.
And here is dinner.
Now
Macaroni
can I
and
taste that?
cheese. Meatballs. And veggies.
Yum. Dad, what do you think?
Don't keel over.
Is it Dad?
It's very good.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and give us a thumbs up.